doesn't love a good old-fashioned science fiction portal? When delicately handled, there's multiple ways to showcase the portal concept in new and different ways. So that'll be on the top of a lot of people's minds when they decide to start up Terror Film's latest sci-fi holiday feature, Portal Runner. 15-year-old Nolan is blessed with the ability to travel to parallel worlds and cursed to be chased through them by a monstrous evil. When he gets stuck in a parallel world with a sister he's never met, he must make allies and dig deep to destroy the creature before it destroys him. Depending on who you are as an audience member, you might be a fan of getting to the point as quick as humanly possible, and you love how fast you're thrust upon this story. However, I'm more of an old-fashioned guy that likes a little bit of warming up to get there. In other words, I appreciate all aspects of a narrative, including the introduction, which this film doesn't seem to have much of. As soon as the film opens up, you're shown a guy bouncing from world to world, running through portals and mirrors, escaping from an unseen predator that has it out for him. Now, this is all a pretty exciting sequence, but typically, after movies open up with this kind of action, they'll immediately go back in time to kind of explain how they got there in the first place. And while Portal Runner does have a scene like this, it takes almost an hour to get there. And for a movie that is as short as this is, which 71 minutes with end credits, that's simply way too long for explanations to kick in. Despite its lack of a real introduction, I did find Portal Runner to be a lot of fun. I love the concept of portals in general, especially going off the idea that mirrors are windows to another world, which is a massively popular concept that I've never grown tired of. The leads in the film all have some pretty believable chemistry with one another, as they have to prove to the audience that they're family. Once they have the scene with exposition explaining everything, I was all in. It took a while to get there. I mean, while I waited for the exposition, I felt as if the movie was maybe too confusing. Honestly, feeling like a second episode to a television pilot I never saw, or a second half of a movie that doesn't exist. Narratively, I feel as if the film is incomplete. Even though it eventually explains what's going on, the lack of introduction carries a hefty toll. The lack of development to each of the characters. So a lot of them end up feeling more two-dimensional and flat than necessary. I did want to briefly touch base on the fact that this is also kind of a holiday film, since it takes place on and around Christmas, which is the perfect time for this film to be released. But even though Christmas is essentially the setting of the film, it has very little to do with the plot, so, kind of like Die Hard, essentially. Overall, if you're thinking about watching Portal Runner, I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's not nearly the best film of the year, nor is it the most clever, but, it is a fun little movie that you don't have to worry yourself too much about taking seriously. I mean, if you're a fan of science fiction films and or portals, then there's no harm in watching this movie. From a strictly technical or unbiased viewpoint, this film has a lower budget, so anything special effects-wise is not as strong as you might hope it would be. But it's also nothing absolutely horrible either. With enough suspension of disbelief, I feel as if it really would be believable enough that these people are walking through mirrors and running into different universes that are nearly identical to our own, with slight variations found sprinkled about. This score is fair at 64%. As for how I personally felt about the movie, or my bias score, well, like I said, I did enjoy the film overall and fully understand nothing about it is perfect. I just always had a fun time with movies centered around portals, especially because there's not many of them. Again, though, it's imperfect and nowhere near the best thing that I've seen all year. This score is 70%. When we combine the two scores together, we come to the final rating of 67%. 67 out of 100 possible stars. Guys, have you seen Portal Runner? And if you have, I would like to hear your thoughts on it in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit that like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come up with my next review. And until then, peace out!
Dave examines movies we just watch for fun. Davey is the expert. He is the #1 critic that I go to when I need a movie.